right there, Enigma, but we'll see. Map number 2 here, starting with Savvy. Where are they headed? The Scav contract. Let me just tell you, Enigma, a lot of teams in the qualifiers, they went most wanteds, and they would grab the most wanteds, loot down, grab the cash. A little more safety here is the Scav contract. You're still getting the quality of your loot up, you're still getting your cash up, but you're not necessarily kind of visible to the other teams via that most wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. The contract discussion is an interesting one. You're right, most wanted, very common at the start of a game because you know you're not going to get pushed out by an opposing team, or more than likely won't get pushed out. You'd have to be very brave to start off a game that way. And then you get yourself a lot of cash together. Scav is another option, but one that we're not seeing too many teams take currently is intel contracts. And we had a little chat off camera while we were waiting for things to load on up, and Biffle and Co, you know, they several times throughout that map tried to essentially guess where the things, you know, would rotate into next. This is where we need to be. And each time they were kind of unlucky with the situation. You know, they would get rotated into what they felt was a nice spot, and then Circle would pull away from them. Perhaps an intel contract or the like would be more useful in Urzikstan than they were in Al Mazrah, and give you that heads up that you need to avoid the RNG.
I mean, that's good shouts, but you can see here, Breadman and Co, they're going to go the most wanted aspect of it. And I respect it, right? Especially if you're off to that northwestern side of the map over by Power, maybe a little less teams in that. It just depends on where that plane line is going to look at, how many teams are over in that area. But for Uncivil, Queen, Shero, and Jackal, into some early game fights over here at Farms, likely going to run into Lola's squad as typical, because they did that at map number 1, the rotations, they akin to it. So that essential contest for this area, for the loot quality, will be going down.
No, you're right. I'm pretty sure as well that Rated and Co landed not far off from here last map. Not necessarily up in Farms, but they were there or thereabouts at some point. By the way, it looks like Savvy and Co are under some pressure. Zanks, one of our current kill leaders, will fall. Freddy will fall as well. So perhaps a wise decision here by Savvy to just rotate on out early. He does have the money to bring his teammates back in should they need it. It will be Scum and Co who have cleaned up his 2 teammates and now hunting Savvy down, who does have a contract over him. But considering how close Scum and Co must have been, I don't think it will be them with the contract. So playing with little information right now. And Savvy, unfortunately, is just going to have to wait until his teammates have done their gulags. You're hoping that that will be cleaned up relatively quickly, otherwise you're in a very difficult spot. We're on board with Scum and Co, and they are cleaning up more players. And well, actually, they interrogate, get Freddy,
try to get back, Scum.
and rotate on over. But Dongy's actually been picked up from elsewhere, so an interesting situation. That's actually Pentagon and Co, the German trio that looked very good in their qualifiers. So a lot of teams essentially scrapping over the same land here, Tiff.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of jumped back in time to see the cleaning up of Freddy. The interrogation comes through, so Savvy, while heading towards that buy station with plenty of cash, will have his information given. But you mentioned it, Pentagon in the mix, and Scum in here just doing a little dancey dance on the barricade, looking for some information, waiting for a peek to see if they can pick someone up. So let's check in with Sage, Shifty, Biffle, the squad already looking for some of their first eliminations, but they just need to find the angles, don't want to overextend too much. And Biffle, it honestly looks like he's anchoring solid, maybe playing for that refrag position, and I think that's really solid for him.
Yeah, the one thing you can guarantee with that trio is as they start to work on things. And oh my good lord, how did Savvy lose that? Jackal looked like he was dead to rights. Ego chows it, and I thought for sure was going to get cleaned up and punished for that. Instead, we'll be very happy to come away with things. And that's actually a huge gulag kill, because Jackal's on Civil Queen's team, who are sat currently in 3rd. And you as your top team do not want to be losing those fights. We already know that Freddy and Zanks went down in the background somewhere throughout the early stage of the map. So the Italian team, currently on top after map 1, could well not be after map 2.
Biffle, Sage, Shifty moving in, kind of cleaning house on the rest of Uncivil Queen's squad. Kind of one of those many squads throughout this area here. And as you get pressured, just trying to navigate throughout the buildings, work as a team, grab any of the resources that you can find and try to stave off the push that comes through. Biffle laying down so much damage, getting that knock on a flank, and then they just collapse on any squad that seems to push them.
They're doing a great job, because it seems like they're trapped between a few, and that'll be Kaylee going down in the background. I tell you what, my Ram does not behave like that. You can see why this young man is one of the most feared players to ever touch Warzone. Bringing out some great shots and holding down the village, making it their own for now. It seems to be a spot that they like to play out of. Saw it a few times out of them in the quals. And durable gas mask available. So as the trio get themselves some solid utility together here, we will rotate over onto Destroy, and he's in trouble. Raul will fall in the background. Zlaner is cracked and himself just about managing to recover. And the problem here for Destroy is as you push this, you've only got a limited window. We'll bring down Showstopper, but no doubt his teammates are right up behind him, and he will fall, and it looked like an awful passage of play for them. They will be into the gulag. Zlaner, Destroy, fall. It is not a great play out of those three.
It is going to be incredibly tough, but you saw that's Ken's Rosie's team on the other side. So back to the boys. Biffle, Sage, Shifty, finding some success here. Already sitting on 2. You know the Pulse Check podcast watch party is going crazy right now for support for the entirety of the tournament. So if you guys are watching over there, hey guys, we love you over there. It's been really fun to see all of the thoughts throughout the changes to Warzone. But for your map 1 winners, Freddy last alive. This is going to be a really tough regain. Does have the cash. Now we just have to find a buy station that is relatively safe. We have smokes available to go ahead and smoke out that area. So only if they can make it happen. Just a few more meters until the buy station.
Yeah, I think you smoke this regardless if you're Freddy. I know you want to play resources, but yeah, I agree with this call. You do not want to risk absolutely anything here. Your 2 teammates will come back in. However, they're going to have limited utility. By the way, we're just getting word come on through in the back that Destroy, Zlaner, and Raul have gone out in 29th. So an awful start to the afternoon for that trio.
But for another trio looking to kind of boost things up, it's going to be Aydan, Adrian, and Crinks here. The reset coming through. The tap to save the self-res. We don't want to burn that just early on. High ground here. Good comms there. Okay, so something that I've learned a lot is that Crinks, one of the newer members to this trio, very knowledgeable, incredibly smart to what he brings to the competitive trio, because you have to have the brains behind it. And specifically after losing Rated, you know, he did kind of IGL a good bit of things, right? So you want to have that structure for your plays here so that Aydan and Adrian can also frag, but allow Crinks to kind of direct the narrative and frag alongside it. But he was sitting alongside Hector over on for Repulsa's stream, right? And basically just, as they drop, these drops off high grounds, you're just basically feeding face, OP mark, the trade comes through, Adrian's able to get that full. But that's where I learned a lot. I was just like, dude, Crinks is, he's on it, bro. So I actually really like this squad here.
Absolutely, we'll come back to that for sure. But Aydan up against Mayapo in what could be a huge moment here. Night vision gulag. Out goes the shock stick and actually tags, and the Molotov might do something as well. He gets caught by a returning shock stick. No idea what's going on here as both players seemingly back on. Off for a second, allow it to reset. Rope drops. Aydan checks left, but perhaps peeks away at the wrong time. Mayapo makes the play, and we'll see Aydan out of here. And it could be a massive moment as we go on through this. Aydan, you could just see those night vision gulags sometimes can just work against you. Timing, everything. Oh my lord, Biffle just picked flank straight out of the sky.
I told you, the Ram go crazy, their aim goes even harder, and that's why it's not even safe to do a lot of those rotations via those redeploy drones, because if you are flying in and you don't have any cover, you're just gonna get shot out of the sky. And we last checked in with Biffle sitting on 2 eliminations, now making their way up to 5. The pacing that they are setting for themselves for this entire map too has been extraordinary. Now late to the game, we have to hit that fat rotation through Village. We've seen a lot of teams kind of mirror their way through here. The question is, how much can we pick up throughout our journey?
After flicking through some of the players, I believe that this trio is already up to 9. And this is one of those things about playing now on Urzikstan. It used to be in Al Mazrah that you would consider, 10 kills or so, an opportunity to start to consider your end game. You don't need to necessarily play through mid-game, rotate, and consider multipliers and final placings, resources, etc. instead. So the fact that that trio is already pushing those sorts of numbers means that they could consider that late game and perhaps play a safer rotation on in. No such thing as safe here on Urzikstan, not with a lobby like this. And Rated's just going to start to take down redeploy drones, try and cut off any movement for any opposing teams. There's a most wanted nearby. And you can hear the comms coming on through. They're just deciding to hit out the portable buy, perhaps get themselves set up as well. This trio might have already had a good start this afternoon. You can see Rated's on 3. It looks like they don't want to push the issue on whichever team's nearby with that most wanted. Get themselves perhaps some resources instead.
But we know they've already burned through some of the gulags. A brief glimpse at the total eliminations. I couldn't quite catch that there. Regardless, not a bad start, but calling out information. Now, some things to be said when you are kind of directing your team on the rotations, you want to be aware of where those threats are going to come from. You look for any source of information, and the threats are to be had. Smoking, disengaging. We've already got Sage in the gulag. Shifty alongside Biffle kind of rotating through. We have to parkour, look for any jump spots. And this one in particular, to catch someone off guard that may be pushing them, looking to pick them up. Wrapping around, just looking for the angle.
Cracked one.
Do we hit the roof here? No, we don't. Do we do it again? Do we try? No. We join up alongside Biffle and, hey, we anchor back. Able to grab that crack and not manifesting into a down just yet. And you can see right there, Sage losing the gulag to Unrational. Not going to be coming back and joining the team, but you're going to have to stand up and grab that knock. It's on Oki. It's on Wars, and they are completely looking poised here.
Yeah, Wars and Oki going on down. By the way, Oki actually subbing in for Jammer today. The roster made a change, pulled Jammer out, put Oki in. So a lot on the shoulders of the young man there to prove that it was right to pick him on up. But getting picked up by the World 2s of Warzone 23 winners. You're right. Here around the situation for this trio, Sancho. I always want to say Sancho because I can see it, but he loses his gulag, brought back on in. But you look at this trio, and we've spoken a little bit about it already throughout this tournament. These are late rotations coming out of this trio. They're putting themselves in difficult spots. And is this perhaps something that they need to adapt to? You know, they're a trio that can learn to adapt to absolutely anything. But can they manage to get themselves, you know, rotated in from these late gas plays and patrolling around the edge of zone? Can they get themselves set up for those safer areas in a better way? Because although you will bring your teammate back on in, you're utilizing resource, you're burning through time, and the safer opportunities, the window to rotate just becomes smaller and smaller.
It definitely does. But for Breadman's team, who's had a solid performance in map 1, fighting here with the gas at their back, and with the gas starting to encroach in, they're going to have minimal time to start making that rotation happen. A lot of our teams vying to either play just inside that next circle to be able to gatekeep, or the ones that just kind of look for any engagement. And that's exactly what this squad has been doing. Skullface, very aggressive, poised to take the top in any kind of solo tournament that we've witnessed thus far. 4 eliminations with this squad. And they work really seamlessly together. This was one of my favorite rosters coming out of kind of London last year.
Yeah, no, this is a fantastic roster to get to watch. You've got the king of solos, the king of movement, and the king of snipers. A hell of a trio. By the way, this could well be Biffle and Co. They were rotating on in from this direction. This could be a huge gunfight in the stake of things. And just assessing as well, Bradman right up with his teammates. As we spoke about at the top of the show, not backed off with the sniper, trying to pick up picks from distance. Instead, playing up nice and close with his teammates. But there might be a problem here, as this trio might be pinched from 2 sides. There's a team down below to their left. They're aware of that. It is Biffle and Co. What a gunfight this could be, Tiff.
It could, and honestly, I would love to jump into a listen and to hear how we're going to approach this, because time is of the essence. Gulag is closing, and you've got to hit the rotation. Let's crank up the volume for Biffle and Co.
You're alone right now. You're alone right now.
Yeah, I jumped down. Redman selfie on like second or some shit. I got my thirst on bed.
Nice.
On my side.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Cracked. Oh, up top. Weak. On my body right now.
I have a full dirty. I haven't played it.
Hear me, bro.
On me, bro. In audio, bro. He's getting shot by a different team, by the way.
I don't know. Compton. Come on, baby. I got hella money.
Well, I mean, Enigma, you can just see, locked in. We knew the stakes going into that gulag as soon as they were taking on Joewo and Breadman's team, and you get Breadman in the gulag. That is tough.
It is, and don't get me wrong, individually, the three are playing fine. Biffle coming out on top there, plays the rope to perfection, but you could hear the call out there in the listenings. Biff, you're playing alone, you're separated, and you end up in this situation where the three just aren't able to get around each other. Biffle gets caught by Joewo, and it just ends up like a difficult situation for that squad, because what looked like that essentially having the high ground and cutting off a team, it instead ends up in a spot where they're just losing players essentially for free. It's not what we expect out of a trio like this. And again, as they continue to adapt to the game, we do expect them and the ceiling that they have in order to fix those things. But when comms are coming through to say that, you're off by yourself, we need you to get back with us, it spells a bit of trouble that we just don't expect to see from them.
No, it's 100% correct, but you got the regain there for Shifty's team, and then you look over to Skullface's squad, and it's just Skullface left. Redman and Joewo fully eliminated. Now for Scummin, Unrational, Dongy on 4, at least right now, in setting to push straight into Shifty's team. Scummin jumps up immediately to that second floor, trying to find any information that we can. Joined alongside him will be Dongy, but they're gonna anchor back and try to focus on what's behind them. We have to clear all the windows, set the tides for where the rotations will be coming through, and try to pick up more.
Yeah, that's exactly the play right here, and I absolutely love it, but it looks like they've got company directly in front of them. Scummin will prep the nade, launch it through. However, Semtex comes on back. Will it crack Scummin, but his two teammates survive just fine, so they will be able to push the equation. Actually getting shot in the back. Scummin here got to be very careful. Slips out. Dongy will down one. That is going to be Kruger, I believe, falling. Unrational cleans it up. Scummin, though, with just 2 placed in, happy to charge. He's going to gang back up with his teammates and aim to push this back. Dongy slides in. It looks like whoever the opponent was may have checked out, but a great team fight there coming out from Scummin and Co. Doing a huge job. They finished 4th in day 1. Looking real good as a trio. You can see why. In chaotic moments like that where it could all fall apart, just nice and clean. Don't lose a player. Don't lose too many resources. Set themselves up to hold people rotating in.
Getting word that Scummin's team is on 9 eliminations total. This is what you need in map number 2 to make a play for the top of the leaderboard, where Savvy Ultras had 48 points, and Scummin finds another knock, and it just keeps going. That's going to be on Bling CJ, so keep an eye on that. Likely for Nobu Spartan and Co. to be around. And they just keep rapping. Grabs another. That's on Diffie. And as the rotations go through, we have 18 seconds before Scummin will have to start moving. The Fools, though, likely not going to come through.
Yeah, at this point, if you are Scummin and Co., you're likely just going to have to give them up and rotate on over, as we see Biffle and Co. And we know that these boys were already on about 15. We're into the 1.1 times multiplier, and this is where you can now start to consider that endgame situation. And they just breach and clear, make sure that this building is secure. But again, you're in these sort of spots where you start talking suburbs. You want height. And Biffle and Co, no doubt, considering a rotation that will allow them to get exactly that. We move on over to Super Evan and DJ Mass, who are also got their own rotation to make. Do they play the Ascend rope here and hope to find a free rooftop? It's unlikely this late on, and you can tell that right now they're very unsure of themselves.
They may be unsure, but one thing's for certain, that if we are pulling back City, and we're going to have very similarities to what we saw in map number 1 for these endgames, a lot of the same teams will likely be in the top few teams because of consistency and the priorities on the rotations. But for Foreign Jace, Exact, Missile, Exact's team went hard on day number 2. Love to see that here, but Jace sitting on 0 eliminations thus far, but they have positioning, and now is the time to start picking them up. That's a full team wipe onto Brolic. It's going to be Lola's team going down, and now sitting with about 13. Job's not done here. Still wiping more, and that's to Huskerrs.
It is, and that might mean that Tommy Z Smith are very close nearby. We're on to 11. Next kill multiplier is when we hit 10. So for now, teams are just likely finding a corner and perhaps getting themselves a couple of free points here. There's a PA nearby. We're now into 10. Gulag obviously closed. Bodies ragdolling all over the place. Doors will fly open, but for now it is safety. 0 kills on Jace, by the way, might not necessarily be a problem. They won a map in day 2 with Exact on 0 kills. So if that's an omen for them, they'll happily take it. It will be another pickup out of Taylor, a man who was recently brought into this trio, on Ken's, who was trying to rotate on in. And the smokes come out. There will be a refill on the ammo. Love that play as we move on over to Sage, who's by himself.
Last alive, vying for a better multiplier. If we get top 5, we get a 1.7 2x multiplier. And now granted, this team already has a substantial amount of eliminations. I'm getting word that we're sitting on 19. So imagine that 1.7x if we don't even get the 2x. It's still going to be just as good. And here come the shots. He's exposed here. No smokes to be able to divert attention away from him. Cut off that line of sight. But we just need top 5, and we're almost there. For Exact squad here, we just lost out on 4 and Jace. Exact on 2. So he does have eliminations here, but OP marked, a win grinder in their own right, competing here throughout the 150k Shatter Gauntlet. They have 3 members alive, and we are into the top 5.
Oh, indeed. But oh my lord, listen to those smokes ring on out. The thing is, the next circle will actually give coverage on a couple of the buildings here, but actually, Exact is up on top here. He's found the high ground. He will pick up a couple of knocks. And, well, actually, Mutex picks up Taylor in the background, and Exact here, though, has a prime position. Will pull down Sin. That's one of OP Mark's trio. And there's just 3 left in it. So we're talking 1 which is Blast, and this is the Mutex trio, and then 1 which is Exact, and then potentially the full trio remaining for OP Marked. It is their game to lose. That PA will not clip them, but they do have the coverage from above.
Coverage from above, and OP marked 1 HP in a massive 3v1 situation. But if we can just take isolated fights here for Exact, he could potentially turn this around. But honestly, at this point, maybe dive down into the gas, try to deny them any more further points to get that 2x multiplier. And it looks like that's potentially what will be happening there. So they will settle for the 1.7x multiplier. And OP marked grab the win here in map number 2.
They do indeed. Marked, along with Sin and Beam, and they qualified through day 1 in 13th. I mean, between them, a decent amount of kills, not too many. And as you would have seen there throughout the flash up of the scoreboard, that's not going to be anywhere near the 40 odd points that we saw from the map 1 winners.